Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whenever. Um, it's me, Zion. Today is a Saturday, at the end of week 4. But I had already recorded this video for week 4, day 3, which was Wednesday, October the 1st, but the audio didn't work. Not sure why, it just did not work. So I'm doing a re-recording on my Saturday. But I got nice natural lighting, so all is well. I just double checked the sound to make sure it would work. And alas, here we are. Okay, so October 1st, 2025, Wednesday, day 3 of week 4. We started off with Acting Through Song with Johnny Barr and Paul Mescal, something with an M, Paul. And so I had a friend staying over the last couple nights, and I just hadn't been sleeping and didn't feel like super prepared to be able to do this class, to perform. And so I could have done Out There Again, but I wanted to do something new. I had picked out Younger Than Springtime from South Pacific, but I didn't I didn't have the time to really practice it, and I couldn't have done it without like lyrical assistance, without looking at the lyrics. So I just asked Johnny Barr if I could opt out today because we weren't gonna have time for everyone anyway. So I thought that would be nice, and it was great. So I did that, and then and then. So I just kind of watched and observed today. So we had someone sing, they just keep moving the line at first. And Johnny gave some notes. He said, only refer to your stomach if you like have a stomach ache or you're pregnant, right? Because if not, it looks like a singing lesson that you're like trying to, ooh, like get a lower breath, right? Um, he also gave the advice to sing like 10 to 15 minutes a day so that you have practice, and your voice is a muscle that the more you use it, the better it'll be and the stronger it'll be. And then you'll get familiar with your voice and know what songs work better and how that all works. Then he said like an open hand gesture is stronger than like pointing down. It's like you do this, right? Just keep moving the line. I don't know the song very well, but pointing down like that's like a very actory thing to do. But he thinks, at least in musical theater, that these open big hand gestures are better. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Johnny moved the singer back to the back of the practice room, the studio, and then she walked as she sang, kind of putting in that into her body that to keep moving the line. She keeps progressing forward, but to keep moving um, the goal forward. Um, as she's knocking down the walls. And then Johnny referred to Paul to ask, where should she breathe? How will that work, right? And then also to clip the longer lines to prep for next line with a breath, right? So a longer line, you don't want to like hold it out the whole time. You want to clip it off a little short so you can breathe and go into it. And then use the breath as an acting choice. So you're not just like breathing, but like get into it. I think of Norm Lewis. I feel like he uses his breath a lot as an acting choice. And then I was thinking, what song should I sing? And I've decided I'm going to sing For Forever because I will have to sing this coming Wednesday. And I want to sing For Forever from Dear Evan Hansen. The end of May or early June, this picture perfect afternoon we share. Drive the wind, and so on and so forth. Um, Johannes, oh, somebody, I'm trying not to use names as much, but it's not a bad thing. He just mentioned how my voice would sound good singing Waving Through a Window, but I don't want to do a song that is that difficult. Maybe I should. When it gets just really high. When I whoa, That was so good, wasn't it? I'm a professional. Um, but yeah. So I think I was gonna do For Forever because I've worked on that one a little bit before, but it's still got some high notes and things I think I could work on within it. And then he also talks about like having a physical bah for the ending. Moving the line. Just something just pop that will give it that button. Then the next singer came and she sang As Long as He Needs Me from Oliver, which is the show that Johnny made his West End debut in, and he's been working on this show that is um a retelling of Lionel Bart's life, who's the writer of Oliver, and he plays Lionel Bart, and it's like this big thing that I don't know if he's like been working on it for 12 years or like he's been performing it for 12 years, but he it was written for him to portray Lionel Bart. Anyway, so Oliver's super important. And um yeah, Johnny said just like take us on the journey. That song shouldn't be pretty. It shouldn't be like "Yeah, as long as he needs me." Like very polished, it's raw, it's emotional, it's real. Um and then also make your hand gestures mean something. She was kind of doing this at the beginning. I know that and it was just a little uncommitted. He's like, if you're gonna do something with your hands, do something with them, right? Refer to your chest, not like your belly, not like lower, because your chest, that's where your emotion is, that's where your heart is. He said there was someone in his musical theater class that was doing this, and he's like, that's weird. Your heart's in there. And so commit and connect. And then don't overthink the movement, right? Do what comes natural, but if you can clean it up, that's better. And then someone else went with Breeze Off the River, sang Breeze Off the River from the Full Monty, which is a show I'm not very familiar with. But I love the song. It was about this guy singing to his kids, like saying that he doesn't know anything. And this guy is a father of two. And so the actor, the guy in my class, and he was killing it. Oh, another reference, just a general reference from Johnny was to not show your F up face, right? Not to show that you've messed up, but carry on, right? Don't let the anyone know. He mentioned a famous person that he knew who was doing songs for New World, and there was some song, I can't remember the details, I didn't write it down, which is unlike me, but where in the setting there was all these flags, and so she forgot the lines. She was like, flags flags, and just said that until she got back into the song. And she was like afterwards, she's like, did you notice I messed up? And Johnny was like, yeah, I knew, but that's because I know this song. No one else knew. So that was fun. And then um oh yeah, so this guy who was singing Breeze Off the River set the tempo wrong at first, right? Because Paul the pianist will want to know what your tempo is. So he had been like, typically what you do is you go up there, you give him your music. He says like, what's the tempo? So you just sing a little bit of it. And it's like, yeah, that's it. And some physical cue to like show the beats, and then he'll do it, right? And so he did exactly what this guy asked, but um then at the end he was like, it was a little slower than I had practiced. And so Paul said, if it's not the right tempo, you need to be brave. You need to like stop and say, sorry, I've given you the wrong tempo. Could we start that again? And then set the right tempo. And just own it, because if it's not the right tempo, it's going to throw you off. You're not going to do things right. And so if you make a little mistake, that's fine. You're not being hired as a music director or a pianist. So just fix it, right? Um, and then Johnny was like, identify those strong words like don't and never and the V and love, and just kind of drive home images and those powerful words. And then the next girl came and she sang Someone Like You from Jekyll and Hyde. If someone like you met someone like me, better, 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 better. Right, I came prepared this time. This is gonna be my sword for the next class. But I haven't done a lot today, so I'm a little jittery. And it's not like 6 in the morning, so I'm not like, oh, hey guys, I gotta be quiet because people are sleeping. It's like it's 4:30. Anyway, um, yeah, so this song was super emotional for the actress, and so it was really cool to see that vulnerability. It's a beautiful song. I love the song. I might struggle with the show, but I love the song. Um, and Johnny was like, just like cook those consonants, and the diction is important to just like convey the meaning, right? It could be beautiful, but if we don't know what you're saying, we don't know what you're meaning. Extend those phrases, make it enjoy and endow it with musicality. Um, and then when you're getting caught up in the emotion, focus on the sound, so that you have something to work at. It's not just getting lost entirely. If it's like too much, right? You want to feel that emotion, you want to show that emotion, but if you can't get through the song, then it doesn't matter. It's like in there. Um, Also, an important note from Paul: if he can't see the key signature, like on the paper, like right, for example, this is the key signature right here, two sharps. My music theory is very bad, so I don't know what two sharps is. Is that F, G, something? No. Yes. I think it's G. That's my guess. So, if that's the case, then in his direct words, he says, "I am properly effed." So make sure your key signature is very visible on any music that you've given your pianist. Luckily, he knew that song very well, and so he knew what key it was, and he's brilliant. So dude was all right. But then, oh, the next guy sang "Beautiful City" from Godspell. I wept, cried. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. He did his undergrad in musical theater. He's got this nice, deep, soulful, rich voice, and yeah, it was beautiful. Beautiful city. And then Johnny said, like, be louder at the beginning, right? The emotion and the story was there, but the words were getting a little lost. So you need to be heard. And then bring a little rock quality into that. Um, Johnny's a great friend of Stephen Schwartz, who wrote the song. So he said, oh, Steve, I think he called him Steve. I'd have to double check. Shout out Sandridge. Bring that rock quality into it. You can have a little fun with it, some runs, and enjoy it. And then the other note was begin to build into the key change instead of like key change and then build. So like build and then key change, not after it. Oh, and then when on his last run, he had him sit down on the ground and like get up when he felt inspired to do so. And it just had this physical connection to the advancement of the story. It was cool. Yeah, then I talked to Johnny a little bit and be like, yeah, I'll be ready for next week. No problems. So I need to practice for forever. I gotta print the music. Gotta do a few things. But that's okay. I'll worry about that later. Then we had combat with Joe and we warmed up. Oh, okay. Here we go. I'm ready. I keep using a pen that's like black and hard to see. So, first, for our warm up, we stretched up. Oh, no, no. How do we do this? Oh, I need a good stretch. Okay. So, we did down and pushed up. It's all about like transferring of the kinetic energy. Okay, so we went down and up and pop. And then we did straight back, stretched out, and then pa. And it's not about like throwing your arms back, but it's just letting that energy go. And we did that a few times. And then we stretched over straight legs, both sides, and then turned, stretched both sides on either side. I don't remember. And also when we like are fixing our feet, he says like heels and toes. Heels? Toe, heel, toe? Toe, heel, toe. Heel, toe, heel. I think it's heel, toe, heel. Heel, toe, heel. And then that's how you're like ready to go in a good space against it. Okay. Then after the warm up, we reviewed kind of lessons we learned before with like our four defensive positions. With my sword, can you see this at all? That does not show up well. Does it show up better? Bummer. I thought I finally had it figured out, but no. Remember, you're pinching the two, and then this would be like the guard. So you're really pinching it here, and then your fingers wrap around, and you want to keep your knuckles up. So we had first defensive position, one, And that you're always trying to have the tip of your blade of your sword be on that center line, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then we learned the next one. So after 4 is 5. It's just changing the grip from having the knuckles like facing up to facing down. So now 5. So right, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then they think that this part was written down wrong, but instead of dropping 7 here or wherever it would be, it does 7 here. And then this one's most hard, right? Because normally it's, wait, I'm messing up. I drew some pictures. Oh yeah, it's just here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You just got to do that like bah, bah. So that's the idea, right? Okay. So first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That says twist. 8. Womp womp. That's the idea. And then we also talked about how to like defend. Oh, this might even be easier. So if you're like defending your center line, right? And this person on the outside, they could drop and get on the inside and try to go for you. And so when they drop, you drop too, right? So you just try to maintain that guard, keeping them out from the inside line. Because if they're here, right, if they push, it's going to follow away because my tip is on the center line, give or take, but it's pushing them away. But if they get inside, I can die. So we practice that a little bit, just these little flips. And it's all like super precise, right? If I'm here, it's just like dropping it. Because you don't want to overdo anything. And we're using just like fencing foils. And so we're focusing just on thrust right now, thrusting weapons, not slashing weapons. And then, yeah. And then we also practice lunging and that, oh, the offensive beat as well. So if we're here, then an offensive beat is you can smack it like actually, and then lunge, ba, ba, or the other way, ba, 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 and really just knock it and kind of do it all in one motion, ba, da, ba, 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 which was fun. And then we practiced evasion as well, making sure to protect that center line. And that was all I was able to write down about combat. We'll see if we get to it. And then we had historic music with Graham. And with Graham, we started. Oh, he started just mentioning how in this group of 15, just our class B for best, we can't hide, right? We all have to perform. He thinks we're doing quite well, but just in general, in bigger choirs, there's times when you don't have to sing because there's like 40 other tenors. That's a lot. There's like 10 other tenors, and so you can hide behind that a little bit, but not when there's 3 or 4 in your group. You gotta perform. And then we did warm-ups, right? Warm-ups are extremely important for the voice. Um, Health and longevity. He taught this one girl who was on X Factor or something, and she was like, "I don't warm up." And he's like, okay, sure." And then he worked with her 3 times, and eventually she did a tour of a show, and she had to warm up because she's like, "Oh, I just can't sustain that when I'm performing 8 times a week and traveling and doing all these things." So she finally committed to warming up. So instead of having to learn the lesson the hard way by losing your voice or having something be problematic, we'll just warm up. And then, so we did an NG siren. Then we did it on a hum. Then on a trill. Right. I don't want to be too loud. I still have neighbors. Someone sleeps behind that wall or lives there. And so on and so on. You can also do a tongue trill instead of a lip trill. That's hard on the lower. Anyway, so then we talked about the speak level singing method by Seth someone, and it's based on the idea of keeping your larynx fixed. And he thinks it's rubbish. It's the thing that James mentioned the other time, which is he thinks is stupid and it can cause injury. But Graham did say there was one person who swore by it and said that like it saved their voice, so it must work to some part. And we did some trill arpeggios with me, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-ba-ba. And then on me, whatever we did, I don't know. And then we did E on just like a crescendo, like E, kind of focusing on dynamics. And then we must avoid like breathing with our upper chest to get that really low breath. And then the higher you go, the more difficult it is to sing quietly. So as you get closer, you're gonna have to modify, like higher, you'll have to learn how to modify your vowel sounds and your shape. So for example, me is very spread and me, it's hard to sing high. So you want to get it closer to an ovular shape. Me, May. That's why people sing "It's gonna be May" because it's easier to sing than "It's gonna be me." Got some facts for you. Then we did a tongue twister as we always do, and this one was very difficult for me. Many an anemone sees an enemy anemone, which is fine except for going quickly. An anemone is very difficult. Many an anemone sees an enemy anemone. Many an anemone sees an enemy anemone. And then we sang it to a melody, and it was hard. Some information to stay on pitch. It's helpful to know the pitch note. Like if we're in the key of B, you want to know D. Um, you want to know what the note D is, and that can help you stay on pitch. And then he was talking about like practice and effort, and he said there's this joke where this guy was asking I think it was a cabbie or someone like a taxi driver, and said, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall?" And the guy says, "You practice, right?" Ha ha ha. So repetition is important and just practice putting in the effort. Then we worked on since the first I saw your face, I bada bum. Since first I saw your face, I resolved to honor and renown you. If now I be disdained, I wish my heart had never known you. What I that loved and you that liked, shall we begin to wrangle? No, 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 my heart is fast and cannot disassemble. Something like that, I think my sound was off a little bit. But that's the idea. And then that's the melody a little bit. And then we went part by part going over the music, and this is where I was getting sleepy because I'd stayed up with was it this night? I think it was this night that I stayed up with Isaac talking for a while. And I was just tired. I think this was the second night. I think he stayed over Monday night and then Tuesday night. Yeah, so on Wednesday, it had been 2 nights that I had stayed up with him. And it wasn't super late. It was like midnight, but still I get up at like 5:30. So it wasn't easy. And then we were just going over other people's parts, and I'm with this one guy who sang Godspell and doing did the BA in musical theater. And his program, I think he went to the Manhattan School of Music for his undergrad. His department was really focused on knowing sight singing. Like you should be able to be handed any piece of music and be able to sing it. So with that, I could follow him, and I was like, I'm good. We're good on our part. And so I was just like sitting there trying to stay awake. Well, I went over the other parts with other people, but then he got to our part and we nailed it. And then we all sang it together. And he's like, yeah, when it's in tune, it's tight, it's sexy, it's nice. Um, which is funny to have like 70, however old, I think it's like 74-year-old Graham being like, yeah, it's sexy. But that was fun. And then vowels carry the sound and consonants carry the meaning. I really liked that. And we want to extend vowels to minimize consonants so that the consonants are just there to identify what the words are, but vowels carry the beauty and the sound. Typical with choir singing and ensemble singing. There's stylized differences in things. If you ever listen to Colm Wilkinson, the original Jean Valjean, he loves to hold on a consonant. Um, God on high, hear my prayer. In my need, right? In my need. He loves to flip to the second sound of the diphthong too. Like a diphthong has two sounds in one syllable, like ow, ow. There's an ah and a oo, ow, right? And so he might go ow, but traditionally you want to go ow, ow. Anyway, keep them open. And then after learning the notes, we went through like a four-step process of what you want to do. You want to do it on a trill to find where and how to breathe. You want to do it second, you want to do it on a vowel, like E, just to kind of get the pitch and feeling. And then three, you want to do it on the actual vowels of the song. So, um, like which is difficult to say the least for myself, but it really helps you focus on those sounds. And then four, you put it all together, you sustain those long vowel sounds, and you add the consonants crisp and together. And yeah. And then our homework is to look over the other two verses of Since First I Saw Your Face. The sun whose beams most glorious are rejecteth glorious are, rejecteth no beholder, and your sweet beauty past compare, made my poor eyes be the bolder. I'll look at it in time for Wednesday. But then we'll do a new song next week, which is exciting. Then we had lunch. And during lunch, I went to a meeting. So there's this program in school at school on TV called University Challenge, and it's like Jeopardy, kind of like a quiz show for college students. And last year was the first time that they reached out to our school and said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in doing this?" And the VP Nick Holton, I believe, I do believe that's his name. But he was saying how last year he was just too busy with other things, but this year he thought like, oh, we'll see if there's any interest and if people want to do it. And so I was like, I love random trivia. I don't know if I'm particularly good at it, but that'd be fun. So I showed up, and some things that were said is that this is the first year in LAMDA's 165-year history that they're considering doing it. One of the oldest, and this is one of the oldest TV shows. It has a 60-plus year history. And there are 28 universities who compete, and then it's a game show on Monday nights at the BBC Two. And there are five players required, four main characters. One of those four is the captain, and then a reserve. and then it would be filming at the end of February, beginning of April. And, you know, I should do a little bit of research. The so about, I don't know, 15-ish people showed up for the meeting. We'll see who's actually interested. One person, one other person from the D's, from the masters in classical acting showed up. So I had a buddy. And then, you want to be quick on the buzzer, teamwork. The sitting captain should be strong. You want to know a lot and cover a lot of different subjects in the group, and then be engaging to watch. And we have a good shot at least being considered because they're involving smaller schools and things. And they personally reached out to us. And then there's going to be an audition of sorts with for the actual TV show to just like see how we are in lights and camera and stuff, which we should do all right with. And then we should be aware that like there are sometimes negative social media responses and things. So, just know what your presence is online and how that might affect it. Spread the word, see if other people are interested. Might just have fun, like having a quiz group without the whole show idea going on. We'll just see what happens. And then check the email. Just say you want to do it by the 13th, which is coming up. Yeah. And then we had artistic development, where we philosophized about what makes classical theater, or what makes a play classical theater. How do you define that genre? I have no idea. To me, it seems like a time period with some rules. Um, but is it like a rolling time period that, like, as we move 100 years in the future, will that also catch up? Because Ollie mentioned how kind of the base and foundation of modern theater is this psychological um, understandings and ideas that was kind of introduced by Chekhov. And so a lot of people think, yeah, we should do Chekhov because that's classical theater. But Ollie is against that notion because Chekhov kind of established the beginning of modern theater, dividing it. But we talked about, is there like a national side to it, right? Is the time important? Is the content important, right? And someone said that it had to do something with larger ensembles and casts, right? Today in theater, just because everything's so expensive, if you had a straight play with a 15, 20 person cast, nobody would want to produce it because it would just be too expensive to pay all the performance and everything. But it was the typical troupe of Shakespeare was 15, right? And then, right, all acting technique is just a codified way of teaching someone to be able to imagine truth, right? Which was an interesting concept. And then the point of this discussion, because we talked about it for what, 75 minutes, is to dispel the idea that there's some perfect idea of what classical theater isn't or is, right? It's not like music or architecture in which there is a period, and if it falls within this period, that's considered classical. But it's more loose, which makes it difficult to define and makes it difficult to teach sometimes. Because could you like write a play today and consider it classical? Just a bunch of interesting questions. And then, right, we are learning where to breathe, acting on the line, and not relying on the set, which things are which were taught in classical. But it's important to address and to think about this as it's not super defined. Just the process of thinking like what we feel and believe is important. Then we had combat round two because um, I think Michaela wasn't able to be there this week or something. But we weren't able to be in Call It House, so we didn't have as much space. So we worked on knife training. This still looks like a wand every time. So pale. I'm rubbing it out. So, yeah, we did knives and daggers. Also wasn't able to write down a lot because we're just constantly doing stuff in that class. We don't have time to take breaks. But We got our, we learned some, let me think. Let me see. This is something else I'm remembering that we did. We did, right? This is our stance. Ba, 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 ba. We did something with double punches, but that was first one. Mm, ba, ba. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, but with knives, what we learned is offensively, like we have kind of like a sphere of movements. We can slice up, 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 up. We can go side horizontally, and it can be like in the other hand, right? We can go this way or this way, right? A knife is super deadly, and we can go down, we can go straight up. Yeah, Joe was saying how this is kind of the most effective way you can get under the rib cage and into the heart, just da da da. And how there's just kind of like a fluid movement with it. And even if you block it, right, if you block a knife, well, then you can still just, you know, cut someone up. And so, in theory, the knives are so effective and daggers are that there's no real stopping it, you know? Um, and so, in real life, your best defense against a knife is to run away, get some distance. And then all real technique in martial arts around defending knife um, uh, defending knives are all about um, just like recognizing that it's super hard and just like either creating distance or taking away the knife. So so yeah, one of the things we did where we were just practicing like kind of blocks and defenses, and the idea is we had an attack and then a stop and then a redirect, right? And then a clearing it. So that's kind of like the four steps. You attack, someone else blocks it. They redirect your arm so that because if you just stop it, well, I'll just like cut up that arm. Blech. So you stop it and then redirect it, since I would use that other arm. And then you clear it, like creating more distance. Like something we did is when we were attacking, we would stop, cut, stop, cut. So they were coming in, boom, like this, and then you stop their arm, cut it, stop it, cut it, stop it. Oh, and then you would go into the attack. So the person would come up with their arm like this, and then you would block it, you'd cut it, and then they would come up with their other arm. You would block it with this one, and then just bring it down, or you could go block, cut, and then you go for the stab, and then they block your hand. So we did that with advancing. So right? And it's not as important as which foot's on forward because you're just so able to do stuff. So you'd go like block, sloom, whew, and then progress forward. And we did that down and reversed it. So each person got a chance to do it. Then I'm gonna get up again. At the end, we were able to choreograph our own thing. So what we did with our partners is my guy first came down straight like this, and we like the the Winter Soldier, where he's like playing with the knives and then he drops it and uses that like strategically, not just to look cool, but it does look cool. So he came down like this. No, he came down with one arm and I blocked him with two, and then he dropped his knife like between my arms right here, caught it, comes in, I block that one, and then I push it away, and then we both come at each other's necks, and then we both walk them and we spin for a second, and then we slip around and go for each other's backs. And so it was like I was block, drop, block. Um, oh, and then I go slice. He blocks it, slice, block it. We both have each other's necks, hold, spin a little bit, get around, go for the back. And then we both got each other at the last second. So just like boom, block, block, ha, boom. And that was fun. Um, we got some nice oohs and ahs when he dropped the blade and caught it. It was like, ooh, and we're like, that's what we were going for. We thought that was fun. And then that was Knives and Daggers in combat with Joe. Again, fun. I wish we had 2 days of combat every day. I feel like I need to practice a ton all the time. And then we had our last class of the day, which was voice to text, which I took a bunch of notes on. And since this video is already 40 minutes, which is 8 minutes before I finished the first one, because I think it was a 40-minute video the first time, we'll see if I can finish this in less time. So we started in a seated circle and reviewed what we had worked on last week, which was sonnet 29 and 18. And we reminded to, if we're gonna move our space, right? The powerful spot is the spot where everyone can see you. So if we're here, then we don't want to be in the center because then our back is to half of the people. So we just get up in our spot and remove our seat and put everything out of our way so we have our little stage there. And then we talked about the sonnet. The one we were focusing on was sonnet 130. I'll read it to you. I memorized it, but it's been a couple days. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet by heaven I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare. So basically, it's just saying like the whole time um, how all these bad things about his beloved, and then at the end it's like, but actually, I think it's rare and I think it's great, even though it seems crappy, because I think it's real. It seems to be a critique um, on the poetic nature of love, and this is trying to capture more of a real idea. So within this, George is talking about if there's passion and commitment in a relationship, there's rage and betrayal, anger and dissatisfaction as well. And this is capturing part of that, seeing a more fully fleshed idea of love. And then we started by just having people read it and going through it. So he said to take in whomever your scene partner is, right? Breathe it, take them in, and then deliver it. And he says either say it or don't, right? We don't want to be like, well, I kind of don't want to. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red, right? You wouldn't, if you're saying this, you're going to say it. You're not just going to be like, the whole time. So you have to answer the question for yourself, what prompted this first line, right? My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. That's not a great way to start off a love poem. And so, um, And so he said, just like lock into your character. Don't like lock up your body, but lock your eyes with them, and you're seeking for their response and their feelings about it. You're so focused on your scene partner because they're the ones that this is for. And don't lean on one hip or lock your knees or squeeze your buttocks, right? You want to be open and you want to be receptive and you want to deliver your message. And on the breath rides the emotion. So you don't want to overdo the breath and you don't want to hold the breath or hold it back or break it up so much, right? The breath carries the emotion. So the words do all the work for you in heightened text. If you can just do the words, just deliver the words, you've got it. Ho ho ho. Lost my spot. Oh yeah, we're landing thoughts, not emotions. Because we could be like, my mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun, and be like, I'm can have contempt for you, right? But if I just speak the words and convey my thoughts, that's much more powerful, much more real and impactful. One of his notes for the people is that let it take 15 minutes, right? We have a tendency to rush, especially when he says don't breathe on the commas. Commas aren't pauses unless they're at the end of the line. So to say, what's the line with the comma? My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground, right? That breaks it up. So my mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground is a better interpretation, I think. I'm not very good at this yet, so if in 10 years I look back at this and I'm like, wow, that was not good, that's wonderful. But this is a documentation of my understanding as it progresses. So, um, so yeah, so let it take 15 minutes. Don't rush it. Just my mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are done. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. Right? That kind of idea. Because just giving yourself the permission to take up time is helpful. So the connection that the first girl found was great. And then George asked like ask yourself at the very beginning, it's like, am I going to talk? Yes, let's say it. Go for it. Um, and this poem, this sonnet kind of begs the question, is this relationship strong enough to take these words? And if so, speak. If not, sit down. Don't say it. And so as you're taking your partner, if you're like, it's not gonna work, right? And then never treat commas like pauses unless they're at the end of a sentence. They weren't frequently they weren't even written in the first folio. Um, they were just added by an editor later to kind of make grammatical sense of things. So no more pausing at commas. And then he said, let the text flow. And to the end of the verse line, don't drive it, but let it flow. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are done. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I took a pause there that I should know, but black wires grow on her head. Um, then another person came up and gave it a try and tried to let it flow and even held the script. So had the ability to kind of go through it and not worry about the memorization or anything, but just focus on the flow. Then just because there is no pause with the comma doesn't mean you need to race through it, right? Take your time. The pause is now replaced with a change in pitch or in intonation. Like Lawrence was saying, that's kind of like that little actor trick. If you change your intonation, it feels like a change of tactic. And so if hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. Because it's not just if hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. If hairs be wire, black wires grow on her head. Something to show that there's this thought, this continuation of the thought, right? That's what a pause is, a comma is supposed to show. And then once again, he's just like, either say it or don't, right? Get out of your head. It just do it, right? And then we also want to stand on the shoulders of all those who come before, who learned before us, specifically in this class. And like, if we've learned about the pauses, or if we learned about taking our time, or if we learned about this or that, right? Grow and build so that as a class, we're all improving. But that's also a great principle for life. Just let it grow. Let it grow like it did so long ago. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Borax, anyone? Yeah. He said, let it grow. Oh, something he said, let's break the back of a line reading. And I think that's when we get it memorized, we get a kind of set way to do it. And to break the back of a line reading is to pick up the script and treat it with fresh eyes. So it's not just like the way we've interpreted it, but it's that idea. If right, if hairs be wires, black wires grow on your head. That's totally different than I've been doing it. something to like kind of get out of your head and get into the text. Then let the words flow to the beloved like an infinity sign, right? That's sideways 8. Don't let her go or drop an ounce of that deliciousness, he says, right? Because we're all building to this last, the rhyming couplet. And yet by heaven, I think our love, and yet by heaven, I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare, right? It's all building up to that. It's like, hey, I think you're not pretty. You know, you got dull eyes and there's no redness in your lips and your breasts are pale or dull and not very pale, and your hairs are wires and all of these negative things, and your breath stinks. But I promise by heaven that all these things, I think that was a good idea of that switch in intonation. I swear by heaven, right? And yet by heaven, I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare, right? As any other one is not full, it's false. Um, okay, I'm almost done. Ish. I have a page. So, yeah, the grounded is is better than relaxed. Sometimes we think of relaxed as this, and it's like, oh, my mistress eyes are nothing like the sun, and then it's nonchalant, it's lazy, it's unintentional. But grounded is released, and my mistress eyes are nothing like the sun. I'm gonna remember that line as I said it 20 times. And then what was that like? Every time we ever do things in this school, we're asked, what was that like? And I think it's super important to always reflect and address our thoughts and experiences and process it. Um, then we learned about how to map out breath. So this was my printed out sheet, as you can see. All these circles are the breaths. You'll notice that almost all of them are at the end of the lines. Like you'll breathe, right? Well, you have to breathe to start. So we have my mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Breath. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are done. If hairs be white, black wires grow in her head. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight. No breath here because it's an enjambed line, meaning that there's no punctuation at the end of this line, right? Delight, no punctuation. So, though it seems like it's just semantics, we put it at the beginning of the next one to kind of push us over. So, and in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet by heaven I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare. So these enjambed lines we're focusing on are it shows when there's that punctuation, we know what the next thought is, but this is a discovery. This is finding it. And so we went over a few different ways, 4 different ways to think of how to breathe on an enjambed line. And then there's kind of the LAMDA technique is that we breathe at the end of images and we breathe at the beginning of the following line, like we mapped out here. That's the LAMDA version. Instead of thinking at breathing at the end of the first line, think about breathing at the beginning of the next. And then the second technique is a RADA technique. And then at every enjambed line, ask yourself either, how do I say this or what do I say? And then you repeat that. So you literally go, um, and in some perfumes, is there more delight? What do I say? Than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. And in some perfumes, is there more delight? What do I say? Than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. And in some perfumes, is there more delight? What do I say? Than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. So you do that 3 times, just like I did. And then the last one you do in your head, the 4th time. And in some perfumes, is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks? And so it gives you that hesitation, that pause, that idea of like, I'm not sure what to say. And then and then another one is an RSC technique in which you step, oh no, you snap, sorry, you snap at the enjambed line. So we'll do the same one. And in some perfumes, is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks? George doesn't love that one because he feels like snapping makes him a little goofy, a little sassy. It changes him, his attitude. But then there's the an American technique that he learned, which is to step up on the curb at an enjambed line. So you would literally step like, and in some perfumes, is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks? So like you're stepping up on the curb. So our homework is to do Sonnet 29, memorize it, work on the breathing and the scansion, the parsing, the embodiment, the total work, the whole thing. All right. Now, a fun saying that George has is tell the truth, shame the devil. He just has all these little um idioms, just little sayings he says, which are fun. And then someone else got up, and they were, I think, the last person to go. And they stood up, and before they began, George was like, "Are you squeezing your buttock?" And he was like, "Yeah, I am." And so he relaxed and he was able to do it. And he got a great compliment from George. George didn't stop him through it. He just said, "You're a dark horse, aren't you?" And this guy's from Denmark, so I don't know if he didn't hear or didn't understand, but he's like, "What?" And we just explained that that's someone who's unexpected and they come up from behind and they win. And then he said, "You were working the verse like a pro. It had an earthy feel to it." And I struggled with this a little bit because when I listened to him, it felt like he breathed on like some commas, like, and yet, breath, by heaven, or pause, and yet, by heaven, I think my love is rare. It felt like he wasn't doing some of the things we talked about, but then George is so praising of it. And I was like, I missed that. Why did I miss that? And I struggle with that. I talked to him afterwards, which I'll get to, but it didn't read for me. And yeah, George just said he had done the work and he let that work show for him, but it wasn't forced. It wasn't like done. So he made a few specific choices and he stuck to them. And then he talks about some choices. He said if you can make a choice between a 5 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10, always go for the eight. Always go for the bolder choices. And then, oh, there was one more person who went and he put her back to back with her beloved and just kind of breathed and felt their breath and connected. Um, and then said the first line by starting with the person's name. We're going to call him John because we don't have a John in my class. So started the sonnet with John. I have to tell you something. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun, right? And did that with every time that she started it. And then we did a releasing technique where we lean over and shout our favorite curse word. I don't remember what I said. It was not a curse word because I do not curse. I think I said but or something. I don't know. Gosh darn it. Shazbot. I said something. Um, but that was just a funny little thing. And then um, he asked her, George asked her, like, what was happening? Pay attention, learn how to express yourself and put your experiences into words. And then I talked to George about it and I was like, I didn't see it and I didn't understand why that one student's sonnet was so successful when I was focusing on things that I think didn't matter and I didn't see that he was handling the verse like a pro. And I want to improve my critical ear and my ability to recognize what is successful. Because if I can't recognize it, I can't do it, you know? And so he said, talk to me again about embodying it and I really work on 29 this week and then we'll talk about it. Oh, and then shoot, I forgot about this. And then I started talking with another student about practical aesthetics just afterwards. I was just like working on some homework or something, and then one of the musical theater students who um who I met at the pub earlier and is friends with one of our students was just talking about stuff and yeah, and the idea of practical aesthetics, I think it was created by David Mamet. it's she just broke it down for me for like an hour, and it's based on this book. She went to NYU Tisch, and then you go to a studio and learn like a specific studio instruction, and she did practical aesthetics. And the idea is like the action is in your scene partner, and there's a cap, which is the evidence that you've achieved your objective. So you're always looking for the cap in your scene partner. It's like, have I achieved my objective? Have I got what I want? And you then you have your like want in the character, and that clarifies the plot, right? Like, what do I want in the other character? And then you don't play the want, because that can be um emotionally manipulative, right? You don't want to just play the want. You want to play the actions and the tactics of getting the want. And then you there's this idea of the as if, like the magical if, which I believe Stanislavski talked about. But as if is you create these scenarios in which it's a similar idea of the other characters, but it's a totally different scenario. And then you do like an improv scene with your scene partner, and they have their own magical life scenario, and then you do that from their perspective, and apparently it really helps get you out of your head. And then we talked a little bit about Grotowski and physical acting, how it's all like in the body. But it was interesting, it was really good. This video is getting far too long, as it's over an hour. I apologize. I have a lot more energy in the afternoon, but happily I've got this going. um Made it up. I still have Friday's video to film, but I'll probably do that tomorrow. Love you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful life and a great day. And yeah, enjoy.